in all sincerity and in all simplicity, thank you for being here this morning. Whether you're here in person or whether you're at home zooming in, thank you for being a part of what we're trying to do and be. Good to see you, ST. Vaccine is setting people free, and we're getting closer and closer. You guys know that have been around me and know that I like to read throughout the week, and often am impacted by ideas and thoughts that come across and through my reading or cross-referencing and different things like that. I came across this book entitled, well, I don't have the title there, but I have it oh, here it is. It's entitled, here we go. The Hand of God, Thoughts and Images Reflecting the Spirit of the Universe. And it's a book about images from space largely, and then philosophical, theological, poetic reflections based on what interpreters see in these images. And it's written by Michael Reagan and Sharon Begley. And here is a quote that I want to share with you as a kind of an introduction to the book. And it has a line in it. You can see there that I underlined it. And I'm just going to read it to remind all of us, and I'm not sure exactly all who can read and not and such, or if the print is large enough if you're zooming at home, so I'll just read it. But I belong to the group of scientists who do not subscribe to a conventional religion, but nevertheless deny that the universe is a purposeless accident. Through my scientific work, I have come to believe more and more strongly that the physical universe is put together with an ingenuity so astonishing that I cannot accept it merely as a brute fact. There must, it seems to me, be a deeper level of explanation. Whether one wishes to call that deeper level God is a matter of taste and definition. One theologian referred to God as the ground of all being. And have you ever stood beneath the stars on a clear night, looked at space, not through the Hubble telescope or through the images coming back from the Mars rover, but just through your own naked eye, saw the immensity of that which is? Theologians and Orthodox faith has a term for this, and it speaks of the transcendence of God, that God is beyond language. God is beyond our attempts at truly, fully understanding, truly, fully knowing, truly, fully experiencing. It's kind of like what Paul said. We see through a glass, but we see it darkly. We experience spirit, but not fully. You can't, in the Old Testament, touch the mountain of God because you die. It's like we get glimpses, we get pieces, we get parts, even as we are partly known among ourselves to each other. All of this, the idea is the transcendence of God. I suspect, though I don't know it for sure, that those 183 years ago when this sanctuary was built, they wanted something that was up, you know, and at the time, pretty majestic, because it speaks of the transcendence of God. It's true. God, we use metaphor, we try to use language. God is beyond. Next slide. However, there is another concept not only about transcendence, but another term that we use called immanence, right? Now, these I'm going to share with you two of my favorite Hebrew words. And these are spiritual understandings that balance the notion of transcendence. And one is the Hebrew term ha-makom, which means place. And one of the usages of this term in the Hebrew Bible, in the sacred scriptures, is when Jacob is fleeing home, trying to escape the possible wrath of his brother and the conflict in his family. He finds a place to rest his weary bones at night. He lays his head on a rock, and he has a dream, and it's the famous dream of Jacob's ladder, of angels descending and descending the ladder. And when he wakes, he has a spiritual revelation. Often in Scripture, right, there are many dreams that are revelatory. Like, wow, you know. And so this is what Jacob says, and this is where this idea is presented. When Jacob awoke from his sleep, he thought, surely the Lord is in this place. And I was not aware of it. He was afraid and said, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God and the gate of heaven. This place where he laid his head on a rock. Immanence, transcendence, immanence. This place is where God is. And another Hebrew term, another one of my favorites, one of Randy and I's favorites, ruach. It means the breath of God, the spirit of God, the wind of God. And you guys, when we're outside often and the breeze is in the park, I always remind you that the Spirit is passing by, or the Spirit is gathering with us. And I encourage you, every time you feel the breath of the wind, the Spirit of God. This is a conversation out of Job. Both Job and his friends got at least one thing that they agreed on. The Spirit of God has made me, and the breath of the Almighty gives me life. Transcendence, immanence, place, breath, Spirit, with you, for you. Now, I love that picture, by the way. All of this connects to me to Mother's Day. I want to read to you just a quick little paragraph, show you some pictures, tell you a 2-minute story, and then I'll be done. This is a paragraph out of a book on my desk entitled Ordinary Sacred. Transcendence, immanence, ordinary sacred. It's about two women having a conversation about being mothers and faith. One has a bigger sense of assurance than the other. And when I read it, it reminded me of my own mother that I love deeply. Was not somebody who ever felt like she could come to a sense of belief in God. And when I say that, um, last night, this is the same thing. Last night at the pub, church turned 138. Our pub turned 2 this weekend. And we had a musician. And it was a great time. It was a great celebration. It was a lot of fun. And he reminded me, through Randy actually, that he's an atheist. And he said, but the last time you and I had a conversation, you told me I wasn't an atheist. It's just the word. And I kind of believe that we get hung up on this word, God, and what we believe and don't believe, transcendence, immanence. So anyway, here's the conversation. For our children are but gifts that we are given, a moment's grace that we are asked to shape and share. We should raise them to be open to the world, full of faith, but not blind with belief, respectful of all who are honest seekers, and guided in their lives by a kind and caring heart. Give them the language of God, for the words we use shape the world we see. If the words God and Spirit and sacred and holy come easily to their lips, the meanings they contain will lodge easily in their hearts. They will be alive to the world of the unseen and will quietly open themselves to the mystery of life. Give them the eyes of wonder. Remember, I told you that one of the keys of keeping your heart soft and from becoming stone cold, cynical. I told you this is true. Give them the eyes of wonder. Show them as best as you are able the beauty in everything in the universe. The stones, the trees, the birds, the people. Let them know that awe and humility, as surely as knowledge and understanding, are worthy paths to God. Show them the connection, not the obligation in their daily affairs. Let them see that the phone calls they make to grandmothers or the cards that they send and the thank you notes that they write to people they barely know are really gossamer threads. Gossamer threads, thank you. Strung between hearts. Teach them that a life of service is a life of peace, and that a small faith can be as powerful as a large belief. So, this idea of the language that we use around God, transcendence and immanence, Mother's Day. I'm going to share you now just a few images. I'm just going to read the text. I'm not going to comment on the text. And then a 2-minute story. Yet it was I who taught Ephraim to walk, I who took them up in my arms, but they did not know that I healed them. I led them with cords of human kindness, with bands of love. I was to them like those who lift infants to their cheeks. I bent down to them and fed them. Can a woman forget her nursing child or show no compassion for the child of her womb? Even these may forget, yet I will not forget you. As a mother comforts her child, so I will comfort you. You shall be comforted in Jerusalem. Or what woman having 10 silver coins, if she loses one of them, does not light a lamp, sweep the house, search carefully until she finds it? When she has found it, she calls together her friends and neighbors, saying, "Rejoice with me, for I have found the coin that I had lost." Just so I tell you, there is joy in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents. These are but a few passages where the idea and the language used of God uses a feminine woman image metaphor to speak about God. Transcendence in the one in this place who has given you life. And now, the 2-minute story, the last slide. It's a picture of Paul Stuckey. Anybody remember the name of the band that he was a part of? Peter, Paul, and Mary. There you go. I was just reading an article. It was kind of funny because he was being asked about Puff the Magic Dragon in the article, in the interview. And I didn't know this, but there were countries that would not play that song in the late 60s because they thought Puffing the Magic Dragon was, you know, and in that era, I guess, a lot of people thought that made sense, but he said, no, it wasn't about that. It was about a young person coming of age. Anyway, in 1968, Paul Stuckey gave his life to the Lord. Later that year, he played a concert in this room. And there's an article in the Star Tribune about it. And it referred to Calvary in 1968 as Old Calvary. Yeah. And I think what I was told, at least, is that as he played down here, and the place was packed, and in the balcony, there was a little puffing of the magic dragon happening. That's what I was told. I don't know. But here is what Paul Stuckey says about his conversion to Christianity. And the reason I share it is because that last passage of Scripture is a story that Jesus uses out of Luke 15, one of the parables describing a God who rejoices and calls the community together as a woman would call the community together and throw a banquet for her neighbors when one repents. When one sinner repents. And this is what he says happens when he repented. You truly look at the world in a new way. My perspective on everything changed. Now, here I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to end with this. Repentance is not a one-time thing in life. It is the ongoing transformation, the ongoing journey, both to understand the transcendence and the immanence of God. And the language that we use describing that God is a part of repentance. Not long ago in my life, I had no interest, I wasn't hooking up my wagon to this issue. The language we use to speak of God matters. God is both transcendent and immanent, Father, mother, paraclete, present with, present for. God is not a judge behind a bench with a white beard and a white face with an anvil wanting to bring down judgment on you. God bless you on Mother's Day. Amen. Now, we got pies, we got birthday cupcakes in the back, and the last coin has been found. You are the lost coin. God rejoices. Let's go out and enjoy this day. We'll close with the singing of a sweet, sweet spirit. Oh, yeah. Hey, all the ladies, as Molly so eloquently stated, all the flowers are for all the ladies. Please have a flower to take home and plant in a little pot and remember the immanence and transcendence of God.